This is of the year, and not just because we can finally begin scouting for our March Madness brackets. It's the week we celebrate Veterans Day, honoring all those who served and sacrificed for us. And here at the Armed Forces Classic, we continue to show our appreciation. So to our troops and military families in Okinawa, and to all those serving at home and abroad, as your Commander-in-Chief, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your sacrifice. Thank you for your patriotism and for dedicating your lives to the country we love. And as your president, I know that you'll keep giving back to our country in the years ahead. You'll keep making America stronger and making us all proud. That's what our troops do. That's what our veterans do. And that's why we're so grateful to you and your families. Thanks, and God bless.
It's been 70 years since our Marines first landed on these shores. Now, in Okinawa, Japan, we honor our veterans by kicking off the college basketball season in front of them. It's Gonzaga versus Pittsburgh.
We need more passion from everybody. Push each other up, pull each other up.
Coming up next, the 2015 Armed Forces Classic.
Camp Foster on the island of Okinawa in Japan. We've come halfway around the world to help tip off a brand new season of college basketball. It's the 2015 Armed Forces Classic. Number 9 Gonzaga versus the Pitt Panthers. A hearty ooh-ah amidst a sea of Marines here in Okinawa. Kevin Connors, Naismith and Wooden Award winner and national champion Jay Williams, delighted to be with you once again for this very, very special event. President Reagan once said, some people spend a lifetime wondering if they've made a difference in this world. The Marines don't have that problem. Jay, we've spent the week around these Marines. What is it about this game, this event, that's so special to you?
You know, Kev, my level of appreciation goes up and up and up each time we come to one of these bases and we visit. And I'm going to be honest, I would try to do little things before about, give your seat up on a plane to somebody or say thank you for your services. But over the last 3 years, going from Germany to Korea to Puerto Rico, now here to Okinawa, my level of appreciation is off the charts. The sacrifices and commitments that these men and women make on a day-to-day basis, I just want to say thank you for everything they do.
The Marines on this island, the troops around the world, second to none. Well, this is indeed a very unique event in terms of travel. May technically be a neutral site game, but it is undoubtedly the longest road trip either program will ever have. Both teams left Tuesday morning, arrived nearly a full day later here in Okinawa, roughly 950 miles south of Tokyo. Pitt actually traveled farther to get to this game than all of their road trips from last season combined. Since arriving here, the teams have had loads of activities. They've been a part of some air demonstrations. They've enjoyed meals in the mess hall with the Marines, also spent time at the rifle range, even took part in a kids clinic, all to better understand what life is like for the Marines serving here in Okinawa. Of course, they're here to win a game as well, and to preview tonight's matchup, we send it over to our pals Dan Shulman and Jay Billis. Guys.
Kevin, Jay, well, thank you very much. Welcome to Camp Foster. We're going to talk basketball in a second, but Jay, like the guys were saying, I know we've been so lucky to be a part of this for a number of years now. And with each passing year, you just become more and more honored to meet all the men and women who are keeping the United States and countries around the world so safe.
No, you're exactly right. And Kevin and Jay said it. The United States military is the best team in the world. And for us to be here is a profound honor, to honor the commitment and dedication of our men and women in uniform. And we've been here before at these events, and people come up, soldiers, Marines come up and say, thank you for being here. And you're like, it's embarrassing. We're thanking you for the commitment you've made to our country. It's incredible.
It is indeed an honor for us to be here for this game. Let's talk basketball. Let's talk Pitt Panthers. An NIT team a season ago. Higher hopes this year, a little more depth, hoping to get back to the NCAA tournament. What are some questions you have about Pitt?
Well, I think this Pitt team is going to be much better than last year's team, but the first question is defense. Last year's team did not defend very well, but I think this is a much better defensive team, and it's going to be able to get out and pressure and protect the rim, and that leads to the big guys. Will the big guys, especially Alonzo Odota, is he going to be able to protect the rim and rebound? And then James Robinson, their point guard, who's an outstanding point guard, very mistake-free, but he's going to have to score as well. And if he can do that, I think Pittsburgh's an NCAA tournament team. But Jamel Artis, one of their two outstanding forwards with Michael Young, is a big-time player. He's the type of player that can get you 20 or more in any game. He can shoot it from the perimeter. He puts it on the deck. He can get his own shot, and he can post up as well. Very effective in transition. He's going to be a difficult matchup for that really big front line of Gonzaga.
And now the Zags, an Elite Eight team a year ago. They lost to Duke. They're hoping to take it at least one more step, finally get over the hump and get to the Final Four. They've got great talent. What are your questions about the Zags?
This might be the most guard turnover that Mark Few has ever had in his 16 years at Gonzaga. They lost Kevin Pangos. They lost Gary Bell Jr., Byron Wesley. How is Josh Perkins going to step in and take over? I think he can do it. Then their front court, the best in the country, Shemek Karnowski, Domantas Sabonis, and then Kyle Wiltshire, the transfer from Kentucky, who averaged close to 17 points per game last year, had 33 points in his first exhibition for Gonzaga. He was absolutely, Dan, unstoppable this summer at the Nike Skills Academy. He's got everything. He's a pick and pop big guy that makes 46% of his threes. He's got really deep range, and then he can also go down into the post. His shot fake is outstanding. People bite on it that he makes a move off of it. His footwork is excellent. Not a great defender, not a great athlete, but he could lead the nation in scoring. That's how good he is.
He's got some moves that take Jay Williams' breath away. That's how good Kyle Wiltshire is. They are fired up here at Camp Foster for some college basketball action. We've got the Pitt Panthers and the Gonzaga Bulldogs coming up momentarily, but first, back to Kevin.
All right, Dan, thanks. And we are just getting started here as we count down to tip-off. Coming up, the story of incredible loss and what it took to win one of the bloodiest battles of World War II. A unique look at one of the most state-of-the-art pieces of machinery in the world, the Osprey. And we continue to count you down to tip off the 2015 Armed Forces Classic. Pitt and Gonzaga from Okinawa, Japan is coming up.
Osprey is a unique platform for the Marine Corps. It's able to go further and faster than anything we had before, and it carries more Marines to the fight and where we need them. We're able to help out more with humanitarian aid, disaster relief. The unique thing about the Osprey is that it takes off like a helicopter and travels like an airplane without the need of a runway, and do a lot of things that we never could before.
Some of the amazing equipment used by the best military in the history of the world. And we are back at Okinawa, Japan, counting down to tip-off of the 2015 Armed Forces Classic, first ever meeting between Gonzaga and Pitt. We are here in Camp Foster, one of 7 Marine bases located on the Japanese prefecture of Okinawa. 16,000 Marines call this island their temporary homes. That's nearly 1/3 of all American military personnel based in the entire country of Japan. Well, 2015 marks the 70th anniversary of World War II and the Battle of Okinawa. The Marines believe the current state of U.S.-Japanese relations highlights the power and possibility of reconciliation between two former adversaries. Very different from where things stood 7 decades ago. Here's Jeremy Schaap.
Today, Okinawa is serene, but nowhere was more sacrificed for the triumph of liberty. The site of the last and one of the bloodiest battles of World War II. Nearly 100,000 Americans were killed or wounded. More than 200,000 Japanese. When the U.S. 10th Army landed on Okinawa on April 1st, 1945, the war in Europe was winding down. Germany was collapsing. But here in the Pacific, Japan, though crippled, was still far from capitulation. To mount an invasion of the Japanese mainland, first, Okinawa had to fall.
There's enough land space, airfields, and port facilities on Okinawa to handle majority of our troop buildup for the invasion of mainland Japan.
400 miles south of the main Japanese islands, but a full-fledged prefecture or state, Okinawa would be defended to the last. The Americans would be resisted ferociously.
We're fighting actually on Japan's home soil, which makes it a whole different game. It's a whole lot higher stakes.
For 3 months, American ground, air, and sea forces engaged the Japanese. The fighting was savage.
You can talk about combat all day, and the combat was absolutely horrible over here. You had everything from, your World War II big tank and flank movements to World War I style immobile trench warfare.
By the end of June, the U.S. was victorious. The anticipated invasion of the main Japanese islands never occurred. Instead, Japan surrendered after the atomic attacks on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Since the day it fell, Okinawa has remained an important base for the U.S.
Our relationships and our roots here are strong and deep. And in this world of emerging threats and new challenges for our nation's security, the Marines provide a critical role in providing that peace and stability in the region.
16,000 Marines are stationed here at 7 different installations.
The Marines in Okinawa are America's 911 response force here in this region. We're responsible for responding to a wide variety of crises, all the way from full spectrum intensity warfare down to humanitarian assistance and disaster relief. Literally every day, we're either preparing to save lives or actually saving lives in this region.
7 decades after Okinawa became a byword for the brutality of modern warfare and for the fighting spirit of the American military, the mission now is to keep the peace.
Well, 70 years have passed since the end of World War II, and today American forces on Okinawa support the U.S.-Japan Defense Alliance, which promotes peace and stability in the region. Now, in recent months, the relocation of an airbase on the island has raised environmental concerns among locals, but officials on both sides continue to work towards a resolution. And for more now on these Marines and the U.S. mission in this part of the world, let's welcome in the 5th member of our team, Andy Katz.
All right, thank you, Kevin. I am joined by General Joaquin Malavet, who is in charge of the Marine Corps Asian Pacific installations. And General, what is the strategic importance of the Marine Corps in all of these installations in the Asian Pacific?
Andy, great question. I have to tell you, it's really fantastic to be here with some student athletes. And our Marines are actually students of geography and history and international relations. Bottom line is Japan and the United States of America are Asia-Pacific nations. We're maritime nations, and quite frankly, we have guaranteed for over 70 years the peace, stability, and security out here, which underpins economic strength. That's important for us to remember because we arrayed across the Asia-Pacific, specifically Marines, but also the other services, guarantee that security for future generations.
Now, there was an earthquake earlier today, did not affect us here in this part of Okinawa. It was in southwest Japan. If an earthquake like that occurs, or a tsunami or a typhoon, how do the Marines respond if called?
We're ready. We're relevant. We're poised right now. We're watching that very closely. As you remember, the 3rd Marine Expeditionary Force responded very rapidly to Operation Tomodachi, Operation Damian in the Philippines, where we saved countless lives. And quite frankly, humanitarian assistance and disaster relief is something that we're ready, poised, and capable of executing across Indo-Asia Pacific. To include the recent earthquake in Nepal. We watch these things very carefully, and our primary mission out here, beyond security, is to save lives.
So what is the future role of the Marines in this part of the world?
The future, the past is prologue. So we're going to continue to work with our partners and allies. We have 5 allies out here in the Asia Pacific: Japan, Korea, Australia, Thailand, and the Philippines. An enormous number of friends and partners growing each and every day. So working closely along military to military lines with our partners and allies is something that we will continue to do in the next decade or 2.
Appreciate it, General.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. It's electrifying here. Thank you.
Back to you, Kevin.
Andy, thanks so much. Ready and relevant, 2 good adjectives to describe these Marines. You know, Jay, I'm always sort of amazed by the dedication and the spirit of the troops at the bases we've been able to visit around the world. and how young so many of these troops are. What have you noticed about the morale of the Marines based here in Okinawa?
Well, it gives them a chance to just relax for 1 second. And obviously you heard him talking about it earlier about their attention to detail. They're always ready, and they all always ready. Obviously with the earthquake today in Japan, these people are always ready to make a difference for our country and for other countries. So to have a chance for something like this to come here today and see people talk about, hey, how was it like to see Kentucky play last year? How was it like to witness Wisconsin or get a chance to feel Kyle Wilcher and see him play in person? It gives them the chance to relax and just have fun for 1 second, and that's what it's all about.
They've gotten to reach out and touch superstars like you, and they are getting ready to watch a terrific basketball game here between the Pitt Panthers and Gonzaga Bulldogs. Much more to come from the land of the rising sun, where for the Marines here, the day truly does start when the sun comes up. Welcome back to the 2015 Armed Forces Classic. We're counting down to tip-off of Gonzaga Pitt from Camp Foster in Okinawa, Japan. Well, Gonzaga's journey here has been unique. Spokane, Washington to Seattle, a long flight across the Pacific to Tokyo, and then once they arrived in Tokyo, the 3-hour flight from Tokyo here to Okinawa. They covered 5,900 miles on the journey just to get here. Now, following the game, they'll return home to Spokane, do some laundry, repack, and then head to the beaches of the Bahamas for the battle for Atlantis. Gonzaga's early season travels will take them nearly 18,000 miles, and that is simply in the month of November alone. Frequent flyer miles indeed. Jay Williams, the Zags are going to face some blue bloods early on. And, you know, the travel aside, what stands out to you about the non-conference schedule?
Well, it's going to be very, very difficult. We're going to get a great chance to see where this team stands early in the season. Texas is a really good basketball team with Shaka Smart. Texas A&M could be a team that could win the SEC. At Washington State is always going to be a battle. And then you look at Arizona, a team, you know, preseason poll to win the Pac-12, even though I think that Cal's going to win the Pac-12. UCLA is going to be a difficult team. Tennessee, they play a fast style as well. And at SMU is going to be a very challenging game as well, especially for a team who has a very young backcourt in the Bulldogs.
As we expect, a very tough non-conference schedule here, Jay. There may not be a more experienced front court in all of college basketball. There may not be a more talented front court.
There is not a more talented front court than this front court right here.
So how does this year's team compare to the team that made it to the Elite Eight a season ago?
Well, last year's team, they had players like Kevin Pangos, who was a senior. He got the WCC Player of the Year. Gary Bell Jr., he was the WCC Defensive Player of the Year. And then Byron Wesley, the transfer from USC, came in, made mid-range jump shots, showed leadership on the court. Now you have a very young backcourt. Talk about Josh Perkins. He sat out all of last year with a broken jaw. How will he adapt? Will he try to force the action at times? And then Silas Melson as well, another player coming in. Will they be able to make shots from the outside? The question is their leadership from the backcourt. That will determine the success of the Bulldogs this year.
We talked about it. They return one of the best players in all of college basketball, the leading scorer from a season ago, Kyle Wilcher. Nearly 17 points per game. The preseason Player of the Year in one publication. We will see him and the Zags live against Pitt coming up next. And you know, if Ditka can't get you to watch, there's no hope. Great doubleheader on tap next week, and welcome back to the 2015 Armed Forces Classic here. This game, the fourth of its kind, and you know, next year we are thrilled to bring you the Armed Forces Classic from Pearl Harbor. It'll coincide with the 75th anniversary of the attacks on the U.S. Promises to be as moving and as patriotic an event as we've been a part of. Indiana, Kansas, Michigan State, and Arizona will all be there. The 2016 Armed Forces Classic from Pearl Harbor. Kevin Connors, Jay Williams back with you. Let's shift our attention now to these Pitt Panthers, Jay. 19-15 a season ago. They returned the top scoring duo in the ACC from a season ago, but that league is loaded, Jay.
The league is loaded. It's the best league in the country right now. You talk about UVA, North Carolina, Duke up top. Florida State is a better team as well. But for this Pittsburgh team, it's all about defense. I got a chance to watch them practice a couple weeks ago before their Midnight Madness, and Jamie Dixon talked about Last year, they struggled defensively. They allowed 1.08 points per possession, which was 14th in the ACC. There's only 15 teams in the ACC now. So they need to get better defensively. It starts with Jamel Artis, Michael Young down low, and also James Robinson, a guard. They need to be a lot more aggressive offensively, but it all starts with them defensively for the Panthers.
All right, so let's put you on the spot here. The coaches have Pitt 10th in the ACC preseason coaches poll. How about the all-important Jay Will preseason poll?
I have them 10th as well right now. I think it's a team that will finish mid-pack. I think the ACC is actually going to be won by UVA this year. I think North Carolina is a very good team, too. Duke is there. Florida State is a team with Dwayne Bacon and Beasley as well. Malik Beasley, two talented wings. They'll be loaded. Florida State's Miami's a team reloaded. They bring back their returning starting five. The ACC is absolutely loaded. Also, Syracuse, they're a sleeper team. They have a top 10 recruiting class in the nation as well. Jim Boeheim will miss the first 9 ACC games, but look for the Syracuse Orangemen to actually come out and establish themselves in ACC as well.
I think a lot of people look at this game tonight, Jay, and wonder, does Pitt have the scoring power to keep up with Gonzaga? Do they?
We're going to find out tonight. I think that's a main challenge for this Pittsburgh team as well. Jamel Artis will be one of the guys that will need to be a star for this basketball team. Last year at the beginning of the season, he averaged around 8 points. Then in the ACC play, he averaged around 17 points. So no doubt about it, it's going to be a great matchup between Artis and Kyle Wiltshire. Now, Artis not only is their best offensive player, but he'll have to take on the challenge of guarding a guy like Kyle Wiltshire. And attention to detail is everything for the Panthers, because Kyle Wiltshire did not miss a shot the entire day yesterday in shoot-around. He was absolutely prolific. I think he might be the preseason favorite for National Player of the Year. Jamel Artis has his hands full.
James Robinson, the all-time leading assist-to-turnover ratio leader in the ACC. What kind of an impact can he have in this game tonight?
Well, he's going to need to control the flow of the game, and also he needs to be a lot more aggressive offensively. Now, look, this Pittsburgh team has JUCO transfers. They have a couple of fifth-year seniors that have came in. That's going to help the dynamic of this team. But no doubt about it, James Robinson has his size, he has his strength, and he has his scoring ability to be a very effective ACC player, but he has to have the mentality. And you can have all the physical attributes, but if you don't have the mental attributes to hunt your shot, that's a difference in your game. And he needs to have that physical anger to attack each and every single time.
We've laid out all the storylines here, so Jay Will, why should we watch this game tonight?
Well, you're getting a chance to see a top 10 team in the nation of Gonzaga and a preseason favorite for National Player of the Year, and Kyle Wiltshire. I'll tell you right now, I didn't know if Kyle Wiltshire last year could play in the NBA, but after watching him over the last couple of days, he's an NBA player. If he gets it fit on the right team, he could be a very dangerous player. He can do everything you need him to do, shoot shots from the outside, and his game is very methodical. He does not rush his style. He takes his time, and he attacks always.
It's hot here inside the gymnasium in Camp Foster. Fatigue could be something to keep an eye on. And on behalf of all of us at ESPN, our sincere appreciation to all of those who have served or currently serve our nation in the armed forces. This event is our small way of saying thank you for the sacrifices you make in protecting our freedoms. And so without further ado, let's play some hoops. Pitt Gonzaga, the 2015 Armed Forces Classic, is next.
By land, by air, and by sea, they storm beaches, march through jungles, and soar over mountains. They've been on these shores before, raising our flag in triumph.
Where do we find such men? We find them where we've always found them. They are the product of the freest society man has ever known.
At Camp Foster in Okinawa, Japan, Gonzaga and Pittsburgh begin their quest.
It's time to go.
In the shadow of Veterans Day, we salute the few, the proud, the Marines. Welcome to the 2015 Armed Forces Classic.
And what an honor it is to be here amongst the great men and women of the Marine Corps at Camp Foster on the island of Okinawa. We are as excited to bring you the game as they are here in Okinawa to watch the game. Pittsburgh and Gonzaga just moments away from tipping off. Hi, everybody. Dan Shulman and Jay Billis. Glad you're with us. Wish you could be with us. This has been a pretty special few days here, and we're going to see a very special college basketball player, Kyle Wilcher, a legitimate National Player of the Year candidate for the Zags.
Well, Wilcher was a McDonald's All-American out of high school, wound up at Kentucky, won a national championship there before transferring to Gonzaga, and one of the great offensive players in the country. The ability to step away, play pick and pop basketball. He's got unlimited range and gets it off quickly and effortlessly from deep. Shot 47% from three-point range last year, but he's also got a mid-range game, and his shot fake is so good, his footwork impeccable. When he gives you a fake because of his shooting ability, you're going to go for it. That opens things up, but he can also go down and post up. He's got an excellent jump hook. He's very efficient, shoots 58% on post-ups. This is an outstanding player. He's not a great defender, not a great athlete, but I think he could lead the nation in scoring.
And part of a great team that has its hopes set on getting further than they got last year, and that would mean getting to the Final Four. As for Pittsburgh, they are picked kind of middle of the pack, 10th actually in the ACC, but they've got a lot of experience back, including two very talented forwards.
You know, Pittsburgh's problems last year were on the defensive end, but offensively, this is a good basketball team that passes very well, and they've got an excellent tandem of forwards in Jamel Artis and Michael Young. They're a little bit different, but both of them very productive. Young, the better rebounder, an excellent offensive rebounder that gets a lot of second shots, and a matchup nightmare in Jamel Artis that can play inside or out. He can get you 20 or more every time he steps on the floor.
Cam Foster has been an outstanding host for this event over the last couple of days. It is basically time for basketball. The Pitt Panthers and the Gonzaga Bulldogs are ready to go here in Okinawa. We will have the national anthems and the starting lineups coming up when we come back.
Welcome back to Camp Foster here in Okinawa. Dan Schulman, Jay Billis, Pittsburgh and Gonzaga getting ready to go. But first, it is going to be time for the national anthems as we send it to PA announcer Rob Purdy.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the 2015 Armed Forces Classic. Please rise for the Marine Corps Installation Pacific Color Guard presentation and the singing of the national anthems of the United States of America by Staff Sergeant Justin Smith and the national anthem of Japan by Leading Private Kata Furusho.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight for the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night
Great pregame ceremony, and the players on both sides, Jay, transfixed watching as the national anthems concluded. One of the things they've had a chance to do is take part in some different activities here on the base over the last couple of days. One of the great parts of this trip for the young men of the Pittsburgh Panthers and the Gonzaga Bulldogs, they have been on the flight line. They've gotten a chance to meet so many different members of the Marines from all around the country. Look at Coach Few giving it a try there in the top right corner of your screen, and also a kids clinic with some of the families, some of the young aspiring basketball players who are living here on the base on Okinawa. It has been a very full and memorable 3 days for everybody involved in the activities here at Camp Foster. But it is time now for the main event. We get a basketball game for us. We send it back for the starting lineups. Here's the PA announcer
Let's
again.
Meet our starting lineup for today's game. For Pittsburgh, guard number 0, James Robinson. For Gonzaga, guard number 13, Josh Perkins. For Pittsburgh, guard number 15, Sterling Smith. For Gonzaga, guard number 23, Eric McClellan. For Pittsburgh, forward number 1, Jamel Artis. For Gonzaga, forward number 33, Kyle Wilcher. For Pittsburgh, forward number 2, Michael Young. For Gonzaga, forward number 11, Domantas Sabonis. For Pittsburgh, center number 33, Alonzo Nelson Ojoja. For Gonzaga, center number 24, Shemik Karnowski. And give a big warm Armed Forces welcome to head coaches for Pittsburgh, Jamie Dixon, and head coach for Gonzaga, Mark Few. Presenting the game ball to the coaches at midcourt is Brigadier General Russell Sanborn, Commanding General 1st Marine Aircraft Wing, and Brigadier General Joaquin Malavet, Commanding General Marine Corps Installations Pacific.
And our thanks again to Brigadier Generals Sanborn and Malavet, who have been so great and patient with us, answering all of our questions yesterday and again today, so we can learn as much as we can about the base and the camp here on Okinawa. They're excited to have a basketball game here. For more on today's game, let's get an update. Cross court, here is Andy Katz.
To Sabonis, because prior to this game, during their scrimmage with Baylor, he took a shot to the head, and then their exhibition, he fell hard on his back. He did not practice in the few days before they left for Okinawa, but he did practice here the last couple of days. As you saw, he's going to start, and he's going to play as hard as Sabonis normally does. Back to you, Dan.
All right, Andy, thank you. And Jay, that's a big question for Gonzaga going in to this year. Karnowski, Sabonis, and Wilcher, the 3 bigs. Can they all coexist on the court at the same time?
Yeah, how can they play them together for long stretches? Because it gives them some matchup difficulties, especially on the defensive end, where Sabonis has to guard a 3-man. Wilcher, not a great defender. Karnowski, you don't want to draw him away from the basket and have him in pick-and-roll situations that often. And I really think Pittsburgh presents them a number of different matchup challenges, especially with Jamel Artis and Michael Young, both of whom can play inside and out, and both of whom can put the ball on the floor.
You have seen various members of the Marines fanning themselves with their They're paper fans that were handed out. It is hot. It is humid. It's in the high 70s. It rained hard this morning. The humidity is still very strong. And you know what? If the Marines are fanning themselves, I think it's okay for us to say, you know what? It's a little bit hot in here today.
Maybe you.
We are ready to go. Tony Henderson, Darren George, and Byron Jarrett are the officials. Pitt in the lighter color camo uniforms. Gonzaga in the darker camo uniforms. And we're underway here at Camp Foster. Big key for the Zags, number 13, Josh Perkins, redshirt freshman point guard, broke his jaw in the 5th game last year, received a medical red shirt. They lost some great guards, including Kevin Pangos. There's an early rejection on the interior by Alonzo Nelson Adota. That's one of his specialties. But now a third opportunity for the Zags. Wilcher's open for 3.
Pittsburgh, the problem they had last year was not being able to protect the rim. Nelson Adota blocks a shot. They're not able to come up with the ball and give up an open 3 as a result.
Michael Young going right at the big fella, Shemek Karnowski, and Young muscles it up and in.
That's going to be the issue for Gonzaga. How do they guard Michael Young and Jamel Artis? They present matchup problems every time down the floor for this big lineup.
Karnowski 7'1", 290. Got a big size advantage on the inside on Young. Eric McClellan misses the jumper, and the long rebound down to Pitt. James Robinson, the senior, ahead to Young, challenges Karnowski again. Ball's loose, and it belongs to the Zags.
Pittsburgh looking to pass ahead, and Young can really run the floor. An excellent offensive rebounder as well.
Wilcher can score in so many different ways from so many different places on the court. Tough turnaround, but he draws the foul.
He's got such great patience. Kyle Wilcher never seems to be in a rush, and he's got such a great perimeter touch. But down in the post, he is equally as good. He backs in his defender, and then he's able to turn over that right shoulder, that turnaround jumper, and fade away. Got fouled as he went up, but he had 33 points in that scrimmage. There's an exhibition game they had against Eastern Oregon, along with 14 rebounds.
He's a senior, a 5th-year senior, spent a couple of years at Kentucky, won a national championship as a freshman, was the SEC 6th man of the year as a sophomore, then transferred to Gonzaga. Mark Few recruited him hard the first time around, didn't get him when John Calipari made a phone call, but he's got him for last year and this year, and he's getting the best of Wilcher right now.
Yeah, Few likes to joke that he recruited him all that hard. John Calipari makes one call, and he's at Kentucky.
Foul away from the ball going against Pittsburgh. I believe it was Nelson Adota who was called for the foul. And one of the, and we'll talk about the rules here and there over the course of the game, but one of the things they're really trying to do, the NCAA is really trying to do, Jay, this year is reduce the physical play and free things up, freedom of movement. We've heard it before, but boy, does it sound like everybody's intent on really seeing it through this time.
Yeah, I think it's a directive this year instead of a point of emphasis. And you know, the proof is in the pudding. We'll see how it goes. Nice little pick and roll.
Karnowski blocked from behind. Artis got him.
Karnowski kept that ball high. But what a great block by Artis.
Artis and Young, 2 huge keys to Pitt's success heading into the season. Artis cradles floater over Wilcher, and he's fouled, and it will be Wilcher called for the foul, the first on him.
That's a tough matchup for Wilcher to have to guard Artis, and you can see keeping that ball high, but even so, Artis comes from behind to just knock that away and start the break. But no matter what lineup Gonzaga's got in there, they've got to find somebody for Kyle Wilcher to guard. And if he's going to guard Jamel Artis, Artis is going to look to drive him at every opportunity.
And Mark Few, and he really says, you know what, this is a learning process. Can the 3 big guys all play at the same time? And one of the differences for Gonzaga, Jay, is for a lot of powerful teams, highly ranked teams, the early part of their season is a little bit easier, and it gets harder in conference play. You can make the claim it's the opposite for Gonzaga. They load up early and try to get as many big games as they can. So Mark Few will be experimenting, if you will, against some very tough competition.
Yeah, and he needs a little 1-2-2 3/4 court pressure right now by Pittsburgh, trying to slow the advance of Gonzaga. But you're right. I mean, Gonzaga plays a really difficult schedule. This is the most guard turnover they've ever had. There's a little pick and pop, but what a great shot fake.
And it'll stay in for Wilcher. He is flying early. He's got all 7 for the Zags.
You know, a little pick and pop, and then Sterling Smith, a guard, the transfer from Coppin State, switches out on him. Little shot fake, and all of a sudden, the guy who doesn't have great foot speed is right in the middle of the lane for an easy one.
Game for Pitt, Ryan Luther. A
sophomore kicks it off onto the wing, and Sterling Smith will knock down the three. The transfer from Coppin State.
Boy, great job by Pittsburgh to throw out of that double team and reverse the ball.
Karnowski rejected again.
I think Pittsburgh's defense has gotten better from last year to this.
Well, when for so many years when you thought Pitt, you thought defense and toughness. They're trying to get that back. Robinson open for three. Pitt has the lead.
Well, how about that pass and patience by Michael Young? Took Karnowski into the post and passed it back out to Robinson, who was ready to shoot. That was beautiful.
Pittsburgh 9 and Wiltshire with all 7 for Gonzaga. Domantas Sabonis. Now they get it inside. Karnowski the kick. McClellan open. Too strong on the three. Loose ball rebound to Pitt.
And Michael Young did a great job with help side defense there. When Sabonis gets that ball on a relocation pass, he's got to look to shoot it.
Quick one for Artis. Maybe not the shot Jamie Dixon was looking for there.
Nice pass by Perkins.
Wiltshire wide open. His first miss. Robinson ahead. Luther running the floor. And he traveled.
Watch Michael Young here take Karnowski down into the post. When he draws McClellan for the double team, kicks it right out to James Robinson. And Robinson has got to be a better scorer this year, and he's capable of doing that. But just in a few possessions in this game, you can see that how difficult that Artis and Young are to guard. Those guys are versatile. They play well together. They can put the ball on the deck, and they can shoot from the perimeter. That creates a lot of problems for a defense.
Subs for both teams. Kyle Dranginis into the game, and now for Gonzaga, Cameron Johnson, Chris Jones in off the Pittsburgh bench. Gonzaga's only got 9 scholarship players this year. They've got a number of players who are sitting out, transferring, will be eligible next year. Pitt is a deep team. They may have as many as 11 or even 12 players in their rotation when they're healthy. Shot clock down to 5. Dranginis might have gotten away with it, forced it up, and Robinson skies for the rebound.
Boy, what a great rebound for a guard to come down and help out the big guys.
Here's Jones, and he is fouled by Dranginis to take us to our first media timeout of the game. Pretty good start here at Camp Foster. Pitt leads by 2.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy and the Lincoln Wishlist event. Visit your Lincoln showroom today.
Every day on every Marine base throughout the world, Marines raise the morning colors. The colors is a traditional raising of the flag ceremony, and it occurs every morning at 8 a.m. The evening colors at sunset when the flags are lowered. Welcome back to Okinawa. Welcome back to Camp Foster, one of 7 Marine camps here in Japan. Dan Schulman, Jay Billis, Andy Katz, Kevin Connors, Jay Williams. Excited you are along with us for the 4th annual Armed Forces Classic. Pittsburgh leading Gonzaga 9-7 in the early going.
There is nothing like the national anthem when it's played on a military base. The feeling you get, unbelievable.
Michael Young, he likes taking the guys outside and showing his range. Pitt leads by 4.
And Jamie Dixon and his staff have made a couple subtle changes in their offense to try to get Michael Young the ball more on the elbow so that he can operate in isolation. They're running actually some flare stuff that Virginia runs and runs so well.
On an 8-0 run right now. Good hands by Robinson to tip it away.
But Gonzaga is really struggling. 2 of 10 from the field. That's the first turnover. But they have looked out of sync, and you got to give Pittsburgh's defense an awful lot of credit. Pittsburgh has been super aggressive defensively.
Luther, he can shoot from out there. Left the 3 short. Ryan Luther, a sophomore from Gibsonia, Pennsylvania, formerly played at Hampton, and now an offensive foul called on the Zags. Robinson steps in to take the charge.
Well, give credit to Robinson, but that was just a bad call. There's no way that was a charge. McClellan had a shoulder past him. Yeah, no way. That's a bad call.
And you can see McClellan and Mark Few, they both didn't like that call at all. McClellan will go to the bench. So it's Dranginis and Silas Melson in the backcourt right now. Wiltshire is on the bench for the Zags.
early in the season and all the heat and humidity in the gym, we may see guys playing in shorter spurts here in this game. Wiltshire is still the only Gonzaga player to score in this game. Robinson misses the three.
Well, right now, Pittsburgh's got a lineup that Gonzaga's going to have to come out on the floor and guard. Both Sabonis and Karnowski are not going to be able to anchor down in the post. They're going to have to come out on the perimeter because Luther can shoot it. Johnson can really shoot it, as can Jeter. So they're not going to be posting up as much as they are going to be on the perimeter.
Nelson to foul, his first. Jeter inside, and down with the rebound, Sabonis. Sabonis was not a starter last year for the Zags, but he was a terrific, terrific player. Again, has been dealing with a sore back after a hard fall in an exhibition game last week. The son, of course, of one of the great players in basketball history, Arvydas Sabonis. Good hustle there and the save by Sheldon Jeter.
Gonzaga's got 2 turnovers already. Mark Few's trying to wrap his head around this. With the guards he had last year, they hardly ever turned it over.
And they lost a lot when they lost Pankos, Bell, and Wesley. They might have the best front court in America, but they're still trying to figure out exactly what they do have in the backcourt. Corner three is good for Cameron Johnson.
Cameron Johnson was out, what, 26 games last year with that shoulder. And I'll tell you, he's got a good-looking stroke. He really shot it well yesterday in practice.
Karnowski surrounded, finds a cutting Sabonis, who lays it in. Down goes Sabonis, down goes Johnson.
Doesn't look worse for wear with that back that he injured against Eastern Oregon. He took a really nasty fall, and a player as tough as he is to come out of the game, you know it was bad.
And now Wiltshire back in. And Karnowski is going out, so it'll be back down to the 2 bigs, which is really the way that Gonzaga played it last year. 2 of the 3 guys were in the game virtually at all times.
Right, and I think that'll be the lineup they play the majority of the time. They won't go with the 3 bigs all at once. Those are the 3 best players, at least early on. I think this young man with the ball, Josh Perkins, is going to wind up being one of their 3 best players, but he's got to figure it out. He's a great passer. I think he's got to be a much better scorer for Gonzaga to be Final Four good.
Jonathan Milligan into the game now for Pittsburgh, a point guard, junior college transfer, wearing number 55. Tranginis swings it. Beautiful. Great ball movement and a good look in the corner. Not there for Melson, and out of bounds to the Panthers. It's Saturday Night Football presented by Walmart, and a great game, number 12, Oklahoma, and undefeated and 6th-ranked Baylor on ABC at 8 o'clock Eastern Time Saturday night. Also streaming live on Watch ESPN. So that's tomorrow night for those of you watching back home. It's later today, we think, for those of us here. It's taken us a couple of days to get the time zone straight.
Jonathan Milligan slipping on the floor. It is very slick out there. And you can see guys are going down, and obviously their perspiration getting on the floor makes it worse. But even without that, that is a very slick basketball floor right now. Players are going to have to be sure of their footing.
We are in a gym that is normally used for basketball. It's a recreational gym that generally has 3 courts in it, but it's very hot and humid here. The temperature in the high 70s, raining off and on, and you can see there Perkins slipping as well.
I'm just glad that you demanded that we wear suits.
Remind me to undemand that next year.
Yeah, I think it's in your contract that we have to wear suits when it's above 80 degrees and humid. Nice going.
Thanks. 5-point lead for Pitt, 7.5 minutes in. High arcing long jumper there for Johnson. It's a long 2 that makes it 16-9 Pitt.
But how different of a team is Pittsburgh when they're playing like this offensively and playing defensively as hard as they've been.
Sabonis with the lay-in at the other end to bring the Zags back within 5. Wiltshire trying to stay with Jeter out on the perimeter. One of the big changes, and we haven't talked about it yet. Remember, the shot clock is now at 30 instead of 35 in college basketball. Another attempt to increase scoring. The foul that will take us to a timeout. 11:55 to go first half. Pitt up by 5.
You're watching the 2015 Armed Forces Classic.
No, because you guys are supposed to be safety. We have one in the safety.
This training simulates what would happen if there were an actual aircraft emergency. The firefighters first need to clear the fuel and clear an entryway for rescuers to be able to go in and save lives. One of the primary purposes for the Marines here in this or any area of the world is to be the first on the scene of any crisis, be it humanitarian, combat related, or anything in between. And the Marines here at Camp Foster protect the Indo-Asia Pacific region. And we are very grateful for their presence and for their enthusiasm here today in this basketball game. Right now, it's Pitt off to a good start, leading 16-11. Kyle Wilcher's got 7, Sabonis the other 4. Otherwise, nobody else has scored for the Zags. And Gonzaga uncharacteristically has turned it over. Although, as you said, Jay, they got a brand new backcourt this year, at least in terms of the starters.
Yeah, and Pittsburgh has defended very well. Pittsburgh's really moving the ball well, and they're getting a lot of different touches. It's not like Young and Artis have done it all. They've really moved the ball around well, and different guys are getting able to do their thing.
Chris Jones fouled on a three-point attempt. And we'll head to the free throw line. That foul going on Brian Alberts, who has checked into the game, a redshirt freshman from Northridge, California. He came in after Silas Melson picked up his second foul just prior to the last timeout. Not a very deep Gonzaga team.
Just a defensive mistake by Gonzaga with Chris Jones. He's an excellent standstill catch and shoot guy. Shoots a very good percentage when he doesn't have to put the ball on the floor. He's 63% on catch and shoot effective field goal percentage. Now, when you force him to dribble it, he's almost 30% less efficient. And that's, you know, that was in Gonzaga's scouting report. Make him dribble before he shoots it.
Sixth different player to score for Pitt already. Jones averaged 8.5 points per game last year. Pitt is picked 10th in the ACC out of 15. The top 3, Carolina, Virginia, Duke. Do you see this team, though, as being potentially better than the 10th best team in that league?
I thought so before we got here because of the personnel that they've got. They've got 3 graduate transfers. They're much more talented this year than last year, much bigger. But after watching them in the first half of this game, there's no, if this is the 10th best team in the ACC, it's going to be a monster league.
Yeah. We talked about a grad transfer. Here comes one of them now. Rafael Maya, number 5, still working himself into playing shape, coming back from a number of injuries, including a cracked rib. Spent the last 3 years at Brown and led the Ivy League in rebounding each of those 3 years. The drive and the floater for Perkins.
That's what Perkins needs to do. Off any pick and roll situation, attack the lane. I mean, he's a big-time player. Averaged 25 a game his junior year in high school. And then he transferred to Huntington Prep, where he was more of a pass-first point guard. I think Mark Few and his staff are trying to get him to be more of a scorer's mentality guard and just make the right play.
Shot clock down to 10.
And you see how gingerly the players are moving around to keep from slipping.
Young lost it, still loose, and saved out of bounds. It belonged to Pitt, but only 3 on the shot clock.
Josh Perkins is so good with the ball. When he comes off of this pick and roll, instead of stretching it out, he just needs to go, really attack that lane, attack the elbow, get into the lane. He tried to stretch it out a little bit, and Milligan was really late, so he saw the opportunity to go and went. But if he came off that much more aggressive, he really would have put pressure on that defense and maybe scored and got fouled.
Johnson to the bench. Artis back into the game for Pitt. 3 on the shot clock. Robinson, a deep one. Long rebound out of bounds to the Zags. And even there, where guys are changing directions when the rebound hit hard off the rim, you're right. They're a little bit cautious because of the moisture and the condensation on the court.
Yeah, they're trying desperately not to slip out there, and it makes it very difficult to hit your plant foot and change direction. You can see that everybody's like taking their palms and rubbing the bottom of their shoes, which you used to do on the playground.
Perkins out to Wilcher. Yeah. Wilcher another 3, and he's into double figures with 10.
What a great offensive player. And there is a place for him in the NBA with his ability to stretch the floor as a 4-man that's got big-time range.
And another strong drive by Young. He hasn't been shy about challenging the bigs of the Zags.
Anytime Young catches it, he looks down at your feet, and he's got the ability to make a 19-foot jumper with ease. Boy, can he drive it, both he and Artis.
Nearly stolen by Artis. Sabonis recovers and is fouled by Artis. Second on Jamel Artis.
Wilcher can pick and pop, he can pick and roll, but especially dangerous in a pick and pop situation. And Perkins did a nice job of really attacking that well. And once Young gets a step on you, I mean, he was absolutely gone on Kyle Wilcher. Wilcher just can't stay in front of him. That's a matchup that Pittsburgh is going to drive every opportunity. Whoever Wilcher is guarding, they're going to look to put the ball on the floor and attack him.
Just past the midway point of the first half. If you're just joining us, we're at Camp Foster, a Marine base here on the island of Okinawa in Japan. The Armed Forces Classic. Pittsburgh leading Gonzaga by 5.
Wilcher was wide open after setting that screen. He put so much pressure on. If you switch, all of a sudden he's got Robinson on him. He's going to take Robinson down into the post. He's got an NBA mentality with the speed with which he plays, and he really recognizes mismatches, and the guards just have to do a better job of recognizing those so they can go to him.
Foul on Maya, his first, 5th on the team, 6th on Gonzaga, as the directive to the officials is to try to free up movement, calling things a little bit more closely than they have in the past. You expect a lot of whistles early in the season.
Well, it depends whether players adjust. I mean, I don't think it's going to be that hard of an adjustment. But if you're going to try to impede using your hands or using an arm bar, they're going to call it. But they're also, as we've noticed, they're calling illegal screens too. And so anytime you're moving on a screen, the referees are calling that as well.
And that was called on Karnowski right there. The big man, and I do mean the big man, the 7'1", 287-pound senior from Poland. Karnowski, Sabonis, and Wilcher all had a chance to play internationally this summer. Karnowski for Poland, Sabonis for Lithuania, Wilcher for Canada. So all of them gaining some valuable international experience in the offseason.
Yeah, big man doesn't really do it for Karnowski. He's like, they got to start calling him huge man or gigantic man.
But a guy who, as young, will shoot over him. But you like his footwork, his hands for a guy his size, right?
His feet are really good. His hands are spectacular, and he's a great passer. Got a wonderful feel for the game. You know, he played last season with a lot more weight, and Mark Few and his staff are like, is he sneaking pizzas into the dorm? Like, what is he doing? And he had a problem in his stomach where he was making too much yeast, I guess they said, and so he couldn't properly digest food. And I don't know. I'm not really a doctor, as you can tell. But they took care of that problem.
That out? Okay,
and he's been in much better shape. He looks much better. He's moving better. I mean, he's a heck of a player.
And again, trying to mop up some of the perspiration on the court right now. The foul was on Robinson, his second. And Eric McClellan will be at the free throw line, his first. Forgive me, Eric McClellan at the free throw line for Gonzaga, the former Vanderbilt player who became eligible midway through last season.
Could you tell from that explanation I went to law school and not medical school? Spent a lot of time in medical school.
To the bench goes Alberts. McClellan, a guy who's going to be a much bigger factor for the Zags this year than he was a year ago as well.
Big-time defender and a spectacular athlete.
Johnson beat his man down the floor, but missed the three, and it is out of bounds to the Zags.
When Michael Young really went after that offensive rebound to get around Karnowski. He had 111 offensive boards last year. That was 3rd in the ACC. And Jahlil Okafor was #1, but he's a big-time offensive rebounder.
Pittsburgh not used to missing out on the NCAA tournament. They were an NIT team a year ago, finished at 19-14, lost their last 5 games of the year. But without question, they are a deeper team than they were a year ago with all those transfers coming in. Karnowski the kick. Perkins rises up for a 3. Kept alive by Dranginis, but it finds the hands of the Panthers.
So there you can see Karnowski's passing ability. He should have just taken that shot.
Stolen away by Perkins. Got caught in the air and very fortunate to find a teammate.
Robinson hit his head when he slipped. I mean, it is really slick out there. When guys are trying to stop, their feet are just flying out from under them. Robinson hit his head hard.
Robinson still down on the court. Jamie Dixon is out there. Trainer Tony Salisi is out there as well.
He is an incredibly tough kid, but he took an unbelievable spill there.
A senior from Mitchellville, Maryland, a 4-year starter for the Panthers. And now back to his feet. A great sign.
Well, there's some blood there. I hope there's no concussion issue
But his feet just go right out from under him, and he faceplant. I mean, he hit his head really. I saw that live. He hit it really hard. He opened up a pretty good cut there on his cheek. Really positive he gets to stand in front of that fan.
Yeah, this is an issue that was drawing some concern before the game because of how humid it is here. And once you got 2,700 members of the Marines in here and the players perspiring on the court, how slick would the court get? And I think we have our answer.
Well, the coaches were, a lot of the assistant coaches had come over to me talking about how slick it was, and we could tell just when we walked across the floor.
Well, we have a moment, a chance to tell you about some other great college basketball action coming up. Tuesday night, we will be back stateside at the United Center in Chicago for the State Farm Champions Classic. The first game, Kentucky and Duke, and then Kansas and Michigan State. Coverage begins Tuesday at 7 Eastern, also streaming live on Watch ESPN, one of the signature events on the college basketball calendar every year.
And an amazing group of freshmen, especially in that Kentucky-Duke game. A fellow Canadian of yours, Jamal Murray, is an outstanding player. I mean, he's going to be an All-America. Now, whether it's first, second, or third team, I don't know, but it's going to be one of those. He's a big-time player.
And all four teams with Final Four aspirations, and obviously they have earned their way into this Champions Classic with the kind of success that they've had in the past. Duke adding another national championship last year. Kentucky in the Final Four. Tom Izzo took his team to the Final Four. Bill Self's team certainly has Final Four ability this year.
Well, incredibly deep are the Kansas Jayhawks, led by Frank Mason Jr. and Perry Ellis. Kentucky, Duke, and Kansas all ranked in the preseason top 6. The only one not ranked in the top 10 preseason is Michigan State, and I think they should be, because Tom Izzo's got a team. This may be his best shooting team, and he's had some pretty darn good teams. And Denzel Valentine, now a senior, is just an elite player. He had a fabulous summer. Played extremely well, can really pass it. His shooting is great, his decision making.
He played for Mark Few, actually. Mark Few was the coach of the United States team in the Pan Am Games in Toronto, and Denzel Valentine was one of the collegiate players. It was a mix of pros and college players, and Valentine did a nice job playing for Mark Few in that tournament.
And James Robinson, who was just injured when hitting his head there, played for Mark Few and Billy Donovan on the U.S. national team in the World Championship. So Mark Few has seen James Robinson up close every day in practice. A lot of connections with USA basketball by a number of these players.
All right, back to the game with 8:30 to go here in the first half. McClellan takes the cross-court feed. Welcher a little bit too deep off the front of the iron. Long rebound to Milligan. What an athletic play that was. He's trying to keep his feet, slipping and sliding a little bit in the front court.
He navigated all those obstacles and almost slipped with nothing in his way. And he was at Kilgore Junior College, highly recruited player out of high school. And he's going to really help with the backcourt with his athleticism, his ability to defend.
Bit of a different kind of guard than Robinson is. Shot clock is down to 5, and a carry is called on Milligan. So we have arrived at the under 8 media timeout. Pittsburgh leading Gonzaga 21-16 here at Camp Foster on the island of Okinawa.
The few, the proud, the Marine, the Armed Forces Classic.
Welcome back to Camp Foster here in Okinawa, Japan. I am joined by Colonel Lee Fecto, who I met actually while jogging the other day with her husband Steve, and she's got an unbelievable story. Colonel, you are Vietnamese American, and you were telling me before what this means to you to represent the Marine Corps in this part of the world because of your heritage. Why?
You know, Andy, it's a great day for us every day. It is a privilege, and I'm, completely humbled that I can wear this uniform and follow in the footsteps of so many great veterans that have served our country throughout history. So I am very humbled, very proud to be an American in our great nation that we serve with honor, courage, and commitment. And I am today wearing this uniform because of their sacrifices in our history.
So you came here in 1974. Can you take us back to your life before that? We have a picture you wanted to show?
I do, and in here is a picture. And if you could see that, that's where I came from. And like many Marines and many of our service members, they come from very humble backgrounds. And every day when we wear this uniform, we know that we serve proudly to a great nation that represents a lot of strength, hope, and a lot for others across the globe.
You're also a mother, as I mentioned, also a wife. What's it like for that sacrifice for your kids and your husband to be so far from home?
You know, there are many days when you miss when they're little and you miss the first days, you miss their first smile, or you miss their first word, but it gets a little bit more difficult as they get older, because then they realize you're not there. And then it gets harder when you're not there for that really hard math homework or that special science project. And you know, the days go on, but for the times that you are together, it's just that much more special and much more precious.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks.
Back to you, Dan.
Andy, thank you very much. And everybody's got such a unique story, and we've gotten a chance to hear so many of them over the last couple of days here. All the brave men and women here at Camp Foster and throughout Okinawa. This is one of 7 Marine camps on the island of Okinawa. We're about a 2.5-hour flight south of Tokyo, and Okinawa is located in a very strategic location for a variety of reasons here in Southeast Asia. And the United States has a number of alliances with countries in this area to protect and share information, resources, and so forth to keep this part of the world safe and secure. Meanwhile, Kyle Wilcher knocked down another 3 during that interview to make it 21-19. So Wilcher now has 13 points already.
Well, Wilcher used that time not necessarily in a pick and roll situation, but he was the guy when the defense helps off him. He was wide open. Really a well-run play by Gonzaga. That's really helped, I think, the defense ratchet up. And you can see that Wilcher just, Karnowski setting the screen when there's help off. Jeter helped off, and that left Kyle Wilcher wide open for a little catch and shoot. And you leave him open for any length of time, and he's going to make it. What a terrific offensive player.
And James Robinson is back in the game for Pitt. But now I think he's bleeding again. I think he's bleeding through the bandage that they put on him. So we're going to have a quick timeout on the floor as they tend to that. So as they tend to that cut on the face of James Robinson during this timeout, 7:18 to go here in the first half. Dan Schulman, Jay Billis, Pittsburgh leading Gonzaga 21-19 here at Camp Foster. Robinson's the first guy out on the floor. It's like he's afraid somebody's going to say, no, you can't play. He wants to get back out there before they tell him he can't. He's still bleeding.
Well, the players are continuing to slip when they're trying to plant and make a cut. They're just going to have to be careful. I mean, it's a difficult condition out on the floor.
And a 5-second call will turn it back over to Gonzaga. 7th turnover committed by Pittsburgh.
Gonzaga doing a much better job of defending over the last 5 or 6 minutes. They started out slow, but their defense has really picked up.
A chance to tie or take the lead on this trip.
One of the guys that can be a great defender and make a difference for Gonzaga is Eric McClellan. He's got big-time defensive potential. Great pass.
But Karnowski is fouled at the rim is the call. And we'll head to the free throw line for 2.
Just a little ball screen off of the ball reversal. And Drankinis did a terrific job of just hitting Karnowski, and Jeter just a little bit late getting there. But Maya not able to hedge and still get down with Karnowski to knock that ball away. And it shows, even though Karnowski is right around 300 pounds, he can move his feet.
Karnowski as a kid was more of a soccer and hockey player back at home in Poland than he was basketball. Eventually outgrew those sports. First team all West Coast Conference last year as he steps to the free throw line for a pair.
Karnowski, a left-hander. Very good going over that right shoulder, as is Sabonis, another left-hander. Sabonis has been out of the game for an extended period.
One of 2, rebound Young.
I think Pittsburgh needs to look to Young here. If Johnson's hit some shots, there's another illegal screen. Got Luther.
Another one of the directives about the moving screens.
There's no question. I mean, as a screener, what you need to, it looks like Robinson's bleeding again, but as a screener, you just need to come to a stop and let the cutter use you instead of leaning in or not being set.
Blood is still coming from that cut, but they've got such a large bandage on the right side of his face right now that at least at this moment, it's covering up that blood, so they're letting Robinson stay in the game. They get him to halftime and do some work at that point. Two-man game again. Karnowski lays it in.
That was the same play that Wilcher was open on just after the timeout. And this time there was no help on the roll man Karnowski. He gets a wide open layup. Now the last time they ran this, see Karnowski sets the screen, rolls. Luther can't get there. But the last time it was Jeter helping off in the same position that Michael Young was, guarding Wilcher, and they gave up an open three. This time Young stays home, and it's a layup for Karnowski.
Meanwhile, in the last 3:45 or so, Pittsburgh no points and 4 turnovers.
Look how Robinson is affected by not being able to plant. He is so worried about slipping, but he can't really move.
Young with a crossover, a little bit short, down with a rebound, Wilcher.
Nice job by Karnowski just to stay big and go straight up and down. Look, that was Mozgov-esque.
14 minutes in. Karnowski down to the post. Right back into him.
How about that catch?
Backing his way in, jump hook, no. Wilcher, yes.
Like Gonzaga has really shown a lot of toughness and grit to come back and take this lead. That's impressive.
8-0 run Zags. Jamie Dixon uses another timeout. Back at Camp Foster, Dan Schulman, Jay Billis, Andy Katz, Kevin Connors, Jay Williams. The 4th annual Armed Forces Classic. Gonzaga's got a lead now on Pittsburgh. Jamie Dixon just used another timeout, and this is another one of the rule changes, is each team has one less timeout this year, Jay, than they have had in the past. One less 30-second timeout, one less timeout carries over to the second half. So you can see, say, Gonzaga there, you can see they've still got 4. We're used to seeing 5 dashes. It's only 4 dashes this year, and Jamie Dixon's already used 2 of his 4.
Yeah, that'll help a little bit with the flow, as will the players getting back out on the floor from a timeout, getting out of the huddle. The referees have been directed to speed that part of it up so we can get back to playing a little bit quicker. And I think as a cumulative effect, all that'll help with the flow of the game.
8-0 run for the Zags. A little token pressure now, but Pittsburgh breaks it. Baseline, Luther going strong at Karnowski, but the big man was having none of it.
Needed to go square to the basket. He opened up, and Karnowski able to block it. Pittsburgh broke that 1-2-2 pressure to score, but when Luther got the ball, he needed to have his shoulders square to the backboard. But he goes in chest first, and Karnowski just threw it away. See, if he goes square, then all of a sudden Karnowski's got to come over his left shoulder and is more likely to have to foul him, like there.
And Karnowski called for the foul on that play. His second.
Big time block by Karnowski. He's like an eclipse.
I mean, this is a team with NBA size on the front line. They go 7'1", 6'11", 6'9". When all 3 of them are in there, which they have been for a few minutes in this game. Not right now. Wilcher on the bench right now, but now he's going to come back in, but only because Karnowski just picked up a second foul.
And they all 3 big guys bring something different. I mean, Wilcher is an outstanding scorer. Karnowski, a really good low post player, very good defensively, and also an excellent passer. And Sabonis is a fabulous rebounder, especially on the offensive end. You're not going to find a tougher big guy.
Yeah. He's got a little nasty in this game.
No question. Wonder where he gets that from.
His dad, one of the all-time great players. Look at Sabonis switching hands there. The lefty lays it in with the right.
Well, he just played the angle so well. Like, I think a post man is always open. It just depends on the angle of the ball. And he was being fronted, so Gonzaga threw the ball up to Kyle Wilcher, and he just used that angle and threw it right over the defense. And there wasn't enough pressure on him to take away. See, Sabonis is open even though Luther is fronting him. He's just open from that angle. And that was really well done by Gonzaga. This is an excellent offensive team that understands angles. Not open there, being double teamed, but he's open there. Really impressive.
Eric McClellan just called for his second foul at the other end. Bonus situation. Robinson to the line for 1-1.
Well, Pittsburgh's defense has not been bad. They've only given up 26 points. They've had a couple of breakdowns, but their offense has really slowed down. Gonzaga's defense has picked up nicely, but Pittsburgh is going to have to find a way to score. Jamel Artis being out of the game, that takes away a big-time scorer.
Artis with 2 fouls. That's why we haven't seen him in a while. Now a turnover committed by Gonzaga.
And that's a turnover you wouldn't have seen from last year's Gonzaga team with those really experienced guards. Gary Bell Jr. was the Defensive Player of the Year in the West Coast Conference. Kevin Pangos was the Player of the Year, and then Byron Wesley transferred in from SC. I mean, that was you talk about a great trio of guards.
Robinson the drive. Scoops it up and in to tie the game.
Well, there's the more aggressive James Robinson. He looks to score. What a good pass.
Sabonis can't maintain possession. Pitt back looking for the lead.
Jones had that shot and passed it up, I think because of how wet the ball was.
Nearing the final 4 minutes of an entertaining first half here in Okinawa. Young. Fake after fake, kicks it back out. Jones rises up for a 3, and Pitt has the lead.
Great pass out by Young, and when you don't make Jones put the ball on the floor, 63% effective field goal percentage. Got to make him dribble.
Melson with a soft touch baseline floater, zags back within 1.
Boy, it's fun watching these teams go back and forth. I missed this game.
Yeah, me too.
Referee's telling Jamie Dixon to sit down, his team to sit down, but his players are standing up and fighting. Great pass out. Chris Jones with the catch and shoot. Then James Robinson bangs his head on the floor and then knocks one in off the backboard.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Cheez-It Grooves. Because at Cheez-It, real cheese matters.
Welcome back to Camp Foster. Coming up at the half on the Jeep Halftime Report, we will have scores and highlights from around the sporting world. Also a preview of the Champions Classic. They're the guys who are going to take you there. Kevin Connors, Jay Will took their jackets off, cooling off a little bit. Also we'll look at jungle warfare training here on this Marine base. All coming up on the Jeep Halftime Report. They're doing what they can with those fans to try to keep the players as cool as they can. Try to get all the moisture to the best extent possible off the court. But Jay, there's only so much they can do. And so far, James Robinson has paid the biggest price.
Well, just backpedaling, nothing out of the ordinary for a basketball player in transition. But he really, when he slipped, he had no way to protect himself. It happened that fast. And you can see the players are moving around gingerly on the court. I mean, this is no joke out here. They've got to be a little bit more mindful.
Robinson has played for several minutes since the injury once they got him bandaged up. Young trying to get position over Sabonis. Sabonis down with a rebound.
But Young had the angle, just didn't finish the play. Very patient down in the post.
And Perkins will draw the foul. It's going to be Jones who gets called for the foul for Pitt.
How cool is Jay Williams? I mean, he's wearing
a whole different level of cool.
Well, he's wearing a vest.
Yeah.
He's not bothered. He's not bothered at all by the heat. You're wearing a tank top and moaning like a little kid.
Some of us are staying suited up the whole game. Some of us are doing what we're supposed to do the whole game.
I'm wearing a turtleneck sweater in addition to my suit.
Here comes Melson for the Zags. They're down by 1. Another floater. Second time he's knocked one of those down. Gonzaga back on top.
But how about the hesitation move there by Silas Melson? He is fired up. That was a great individual offensive play.
Sophomore from Portland, Oregon, averaged just over 3 points per game last year.
Another player hits the deck. It's Robinson again. He's back up as Young muscles his way in and is fouled by Sabonis.
I thought they got Perkins reaching in.
Yep.
Silas Melson coming down with that left-hand dribble. A little bit of a hesitation move, and then what a pretty floater along the baseline. He's got the ability to really score. Very athletic, hunts his own shot, and that's something they're trying to get Josh Perkins to do, is hunt his shot. You know, when you look for your shot, it doesn't make you a selfish player. You know, taking bad shots make you a selfish player. Looking for your shot and looking to score makes you a threat.
Young at the free throw line for Pitt. Missed the first. 6'9" junior from Duquesne, Pennsylvania. Better than 13 points per game. Same for Artis. The highest scoring returning duo in the ACC belongs to the Pitt Panthers.
And right there with Marcus Page and Bryce Johnson in North Carolina, just a tad bit behind those two. And right now, Jamel Artis spending a lot of time on the bench for those 2 fouls. He's going to have to really come in the second half and look to do something. What a pass!
Dranginis to Sabonis.
Gonzaga is opening up the floor. There's a wide open middle. And when there's a little ball screen and a hard roll to the basket, well, if you don't pick up that roll man, he's going to get a layup. If you do, if you help off, then there's going to be a wide open shot.
That's 4 assists already in the game for Dranginis off the bench. Into the final 2 minutes of the first half.
Well, these camo uniforms that Nike made are beautiful, but they should have been neoprene. they have sweat through these things. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, you're right. Young draws another foul heading back to the line.
Sabonis sets a little screen up top, and Luther just gets on the high side of it. There's nobody to help because of the great spacing out on the perimeter. It's basically like an NBA type play. That was really impressive. Look, we're getting fanned by the Marine Corps. That was come on, that was impressive. That's what, Dan. That's when you know you're a star.
Yeah, that's right.
Luckily, I'm with you. You know you're a star. The Marine Corps is fanning you.
It's working.
That's pretty impressive. Do you know he's Canadian?
How long can you guys stick around?
Yeah, there we go. There we go. Let's stick with the American guy here.
And we're tied at 32.
More token pressure, try to slow the advance. Now with both Sabonis and Wilcher into the ball game, they can screen together.
Dranginis misses the 3. Sabonis on the glass, can't gather it, and it's Pitt ball.
Gang rebounding by Pittsburgh there.
Jones had to get rid of it. Johnson, and maybe again the ball wet with perspiration. It's so humid in here, just couldn't squeeze the pass, and it goes back over to Gonzaga.
What a terrific job by Domantas Sabonis to get there and really pressure that shot by Chris Jones, because Jones has hit one when he wasn't made to put the ball on the floor, and Sabonis did a really nice job of recovering out, and that's where a shot fake would have really helped Chris Jones. Shot fake, put the ball on the floor, he might have gotten a layup out of it.
Just people are falling over when they get near Sabonis. He keeps his feet, and he'll get the assist on the Dranginis 3.
Everybody was slipping. That was like an ice rink out there. It was so slippery that the headband came off of Michael Young. And just a little, he just slipped. I mean, it wasn't like there was any contact.
Yep. And then Robinson slipped. Robinson went down again. Robinson's already been injured because of it. It's a cut, and he's come back to play. You just hope nobody gets seriously hurt given the conditions.
Well, you know that the referees are going to monitor it. If it becomes a dangerous condition, they'll do something about it. But right now, it doesn't appear to be dangerous. Well, maybe I'm wrong there, because he's slipping all over the place, and guys can't really plant. The scary part was when Robinson fell the first time. He had no way to protect himself.
Right. Literally went face first into the court. Nice drive by Young. Hit back within 1.
That makes you wonder whether you should go a little bit of zone.
Wilcher the scoop. No basket. Offensive foul.
Now, it used to be, Dan, if you let that go before you made contact, they would count the basket. Now, if there's an offensive foul, it doesn't matter. The basket will not count, period.
Another one of the new rules put in this year. So as Jay says, it does not matter if you release the ball before he made contact. A charge is a charge, and the basket cannot count.
Now, that was just good defense by James Robinson. I don't happen to think he got there before he left the floor, but it was close enough. And usually in college basketball, they call so many charges, that's going to be a charge.
33 seconds left in the half. Of course, the shot clock is at 30, another one of the new rules. So Pittsburgh can basically hold just a few seconds difference, as again, they do everything they can to try to get as much of the moisture off the court as possible.
I mean, the players are trying as best they can. They keep trying to rub the bottom of their shoes and then trying to do it on the floor, but there's not much they can do. Pittsburgh can basically take it all the way down to 0 on the clock and still have time for a tip in. Look at Robinson. He's running like an old man because he's afraid to slip.
Misses the three. Luther with a putback and a foul.
Boy, just took it right out of the hands of Silas Melson. Melson was looking to I thought he was looking to turn to the outside before he had actually gotten the ball, and Luther just took it away from him. He never made contact on a block out, and Luther took advantage of it. But that was a big play by Ryan Luther.
It's about to be halftime.
So Luther heads to the line looking for three. The guy who figures into the mix of the 4 and the 5 spots for the Panthers this year.
But Gonzaga really battled back in this first half. It was looking like this could go sideways on them, and they really fought. That's the way their program is. I mean, Mark Few's teams fight.
And Mark Few will take his use it or lose it timeout here with 5.4 seconds left in the first half, just prior to the free throw attempt by Luther. Well, in November, sometimes you never know what you're going to get. Teams are just learning about themselves, but I think given how early it is in the season and given the tough conditions on the court here, I think both of these teams have played exceptionally well.
They played exceptionally well, and if it weren't for slipping around, I think we'd be looking at a score with both teams in the 40s in the first half. Both teams have played really hard. It's unfortunate that Jamel Hart has picked up that second foul. He's been out basically the whole first half, saving it for the second.
Kyle Wiltshire with a game-high 15 to lead the Zags. Michael Young leads Pittsburgh with 11.
Well, you can see in this first half why, I really believe Kyle Wiltshire can lead the nation in scoring. I mean, he is a big-time scorer. Every time he shoots it, you not only think it's going in, it goes in.
Yeah. Three-point range, post, mid-range, free throw line. He can score from everywhere.
Well, he shot 58% effective field goal percentage last year. Shot 47% from three. Now that 47% was 4th in the nation, and shot 58% on post-ups. We're talking about his shooting ability on his spot-ups for Kyle Wiltshire. He shot 58% last year on spot-ups. The only other guy that did that was Kentucky's Devin Booker. And that's how good of a shooter he is.
And Wiltshire's 6'9".
Exactly.
Get a shot off over anybody. Perkins trying to go coast to coast. Can't finish, and the first half comes to a close. A good first half with the Marines loving it here at Camp Foster, and Pittsburgh leading Gonzaga 37-35 at halftime. Let's go on to the court. Andy Katz is with Pitt coach Jamie Dixon.
All right, thank you, Dan. Jamie, I just talked to the officials. They say it is very close to a dangerous situation. How concerned are you that the second half can even go on?
Well, I was very concerned before the game. It's something we talked about. We knew it. My days in Hawaii prepared me for this. So it's tough. Both teams are playing hard. It's two good teams. We're going to have to see how it goes. But we've got to be impressed with both teams playing as hard as they are given the circumstances. We're not going to quit on these guys. We came out here to show these guys the game.
What are you telling your players in terms of how to deal with their inability to plant when they're trying to make a move?
Well, stay down, stay balanced, and don't give a shot fakes, but being ready early. We've adjusted because of it, some things that we're doing defensively. But they're still a good team offensively. They make it challenging at different spots.
Thanks, Jamie.
All right, thanks.
Back to you, Dan.
All right, Andy, thank you. Pitt leading by 2 at halftime here with the Armed Forces Classic. When we come back, the Jeep halftime report will send it back stateside to Chris Connor and Seth Greenberg.
Welcome back to the Jeep Halftime Report.
Entertaining first half from Camp Foster in Okinawa, Japan. The Pitt Panthers, a 2-point lead on the number 9 team in the country here at the half. Back inside, Kevin Connors, Jay Williams. Best moment of the first half, Shemek Kardowski flexing.
I don't know, that or there's baby powder all over the floor, because I could do my best Chris Brown impersonation out there now.
Jay, Will.
I got a little bit of footwork left in me.
The court was a bit of an issue in that first half. Jamel Artis, 1 point over 4 minutes for the Pitt Panthers, and yet Pitt still leads this game. And pregame, I said Gonzaga has one of the best front courts in the country. You said they have the best front court. Why not go to it more?
Well, I think that's the question. And I think that's the difference between this year's team and last year's team. When you had Kevin Pangos, Gary Barrow in the court, a senior-laden backcourt, they were controlled and poised. They made it a priority to give the ball down low. And so far in the first half, Kornowski, he's 7'1", 290 pounds. No need to keep him out on the perimeter. Cement yourself down low. Make it a priority to give the ball down low. But Mike Young kept the Panthers in the game in the first half. He was able to really pull out Sabonis defensively, drives into the basket. Also, a little bit controlled, poised, turn, face, set up for the mid-range jump shot, able to knock that down with 11 first half points. We talked earlier in the pregame about Kyle Wilcher, preseason National Player of the Year, in my opinion. Jamel Artis did a very poor job of finding him in transition in the first half. He was able to have 15 points, got himself on the boards. No doubt going into the second half, Gonzaga needs to make it a priority to slow the pace of the ball game down, throw the ball down low, dominate down low, and also watch the shooters on the perimeter for Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh been able to knock down 3 after 3 in the first half.
Jamie Dixon, for all intents and purposes, has to be very happy with where his team is. What is he telling his team at halftime?
Well, I think they have to continue to attack. I mean, look, both these teams combined for 18 turnovers in the first half. No team doing a good job of taking care of the basketball. But Pittsburgh has to get back to their defensive ways. I think we've seen that so far in the first half. Have to maintain that and excel in that category in the second.
We are fortunate to have a couple of heavyweights going at it here in Okinawa, but we will see 4 more absolute name brands next Tuesday at the Champions Classic in Chicago. Duke, Kentucky gets things started. And Jay, America is about to meet the latest crop of freshman phenoms both programs have to offer. By the way, in between games, the college football playoff rankings will be revealed. But how about those freshmen at Kentucky and Duke?
Hey, this is the game that we wanted to see last year in a national championship game, Kentucky versus Duke. And you see some big-time names for Kentucky. Scal, LaBissiere, one of the top-rated players in the nation, could be a top 5 pick. You know, Jamal Murray is not on that list. He should be on that list. He's a dynamic guard for Kentucky. And then for Duke, Brandon Ingram, the question for him, he's a dynamic 3-4. You know, will he have the strength to play down low is a big question for Duke, or will you see Emil Jefferson kind of take on that role? And a game that we're not talking about, Kansas versus Michigan State, that could be the national championship game this year. You know, very veteran teams. That might be the game to watch in the Champions Classic.
And if Mr. Duke is saying that, if Mr. Duke, Jay Williams, is telling us that, you know you got to watch both games. We're here at the half. 2-point lead for the Pitt Panthers in the Armed Forces Classic.
This halftime report is presented by the awarded, rewarding Jeep Grand Cherokee. Welcome back to the Jeep Halftime Report.
Welcome back to the Armed Forces Classic in Japan. Jamie Dixon's Pitt Panthers, a 37-35 halftime lead on the number 9 Gonzaga Bulldogs. One of the many things Marines here in Okinawa do is prepare for survival in the jungle terrain. Managing logistics in what can be one of the most difficult environments to operate within is something that every Marine here in Okinawa is learns how to do rather. The work is not easy, but then again, that's why they call in the Marines.
Hurry up! Hit your muzzle. Slow down. Keep going. Get yourself on this side. Let's go. Hurry up. Right side. Get down. Let's go. Move. Hurry up. Right. Go.
This is really the premier jungle terrain in existence for the Department of Defense. That jungle's a mean mistress. Conducting warfare in the jungle, you first have to survive in the jungle, so that's the basis where our training focuses on. So we really push the Marines here to develop their physical capabilities, their mental capabilities, and their skills. Marines have some difficulty when it comes to whatever their weaknesses are. If you're afraid of heights, you have to overcome that here pretty quickly.
All right, now.
In the jungle, the terrain is so significant and so severe that a lot of times you have to use a rope to either ascend, descend yourself, and or recover an injured individual out of it.
We gotta get him out. Let's go.
Without the training, you wouldn't be really prepared to operate in a jungle environment. We really offer a variety of different courses. We have short courses from 5 days, 8 days, 12 days, all the way to a 28-day course.
Do this. Go. Keep moving.
I want them to leave the Jungle Warfare Training Center with the confidence, the skills, and the knowledge to effectively operate in the jungle. They need to know how to survive, how to track, how to communicate, and how to operate within their unit.
A fascinating look at life for the Devil Dogs, based here in Okinawa, Japan. The Marines here in Okinawa. Thanks for watching the Jeep Halftime Report. Second half action on the way from the 2015 Armed Forces Classic. Enjoy the second half.
Welcome back to Camp Foster here in Okinawa. Dan Schulman and Jay Billis with you. And as everybody who was watching the first half saw, the conditions became somewhat dangerous. All the perspiration, the humidity, Jay, players slipping and falling, and James Robinson suffering a bad cut on his face. And we have been told that the officials have decided that the court is not playable. It is too dangerous, and the game will not continue.
Yeah, the referees came over to us, and after assessing the floor when they came back out for the second half, determined that it was a dangerous condition and the game could not be played under safe enough conditions for the players. And it is up to the officials. They're the ones that make this call, and they have made the call. And the players, this is Mike Lesak of Pittsburgh, they want to play. I understand that. I understand the competitive nature of it, but the officials cannot allow the players to be in this kind of danger. And you have to just look at what happened with James Robinson in the first half when he fell in a routine play. He was just backpedaling on a fast break. And when his feet slipped out from under him, he had no way to protect himself and hit his head on the floor. Now, it opened up a cut. But the issue, if he were concussed in that type of play, which very easily could have happened, he wouldn't be able to fly home. Right. He'd have to stay here until he could do that. There he was hitting his head right there. That was a very dangerous play. And you know, I happen to agree with the officials with the decision they've made here. It's in the best interest of the players. It is certainly not what we want, not what the fans want. We want to, and what the players want to play. The coaches want to coach. Yeah. But it's too difficult right now for them to play.
I think, truthfully, if this were a routine game domestically, it probably would have been called earlier. But I think because it was here and everybody so badly wanted to play the game in front of the Marines and you know, deliver the product and deliver what had been promised, maybe it went on a little bit longer. The players are unhappy, although both sides know. I'm not sure that the crowd knows. I'm not sure the Marines know yet that the game has been called. It has not been announced over the PA system. But everything that we understand is this game is not going to continue. Now, you can see Jamie Dixon was down by the Gonzaga end of the floor, and he's making his way back to a pit huddle right now. But the decision is in the hands of the officials. Correct?
Yeah, this is not a decision that's made by the coaches or made by the organizers of the event. The officials are the ones that make this determination. And according to what they told us when they came over, they've made this decision.
Yeah.
It's not being made, it's made.
So unless something is to change, and we haven't heard it yet, there will not be a second half played here in Okinawa. And it wasn't just one or two isolated incidents. No. It was many incidents of players slipping and sliding, and they just don't think they can do anything to improve it.
We need to pass on to you. Looks like today's game is going to be called due to the floor conditions. It's a little bit slippery. Athletes are at risk of getting hurt. So the game will be called for today.
So now the disappointment in the gym as the announcement is made by the PA. Let's go over to Andy Katz.
All right, thank you, Dan. I'm joined by official Darren George. Why was this decision made to call the game here at halftime?
Unfortunately, it's just the conditions, Andy. I mean, on this floor, the players can't stop. We can't stop. It's a terribly unsafe situation, and for their sake and for their safety, it's our discretion. And being out here on this floor, I can tell you, it's too unsafe. So we've made the decision to call the game with the input of the coaches and the tournament guys.
Prior to the half, I talked to you, and you said it was close to a dangerous situation. What were you hoping to see when you came out for the second half to maybe be able to play the second half?
When talking with the facility guys, they were going to make some adjustment, take the oil base off of the floor. So we wanted to give them that opportunity to see if that would make any kind of change, and it just didn't. When we came back out, there was no noticeable difference at all. So it's just too unsafe, and it's unfortunate, but it's their safety at the end of the day.
Thanks, Aaron.
You got it.
Back to you now.
Andy, thank you very much.
First of all, we'd like to thank you for this.
Coach is now going to address the Marines.
Great experience for our players. We came here for the experience, obviously to play against a great basketball team in Gonzaga, a great program, but really the opportunity to see and be around the Marines, and thank you for all you do for us. So thank you. We're disappointed we can't continue to play, but that's the situation we're at. So thank you very much. We can't thank you enough for all you do and all the service you provide for us in our country. Thank you very much.
Okay, hey, first of all, we're sorry. We're sorry. I mean, we wished we could have finished this game. It's what we wanted to do, just in a small token for you guys. And I just want you to know, in this short time we've been here, the impact that you've had on myself, my staff, my players, is something we'll cherish for a lifetime. I talked to my guys about being tough. There's nobody more tougher in the world than you Marines, okay? I talked to my guys about being detail-oriented and disciplined. There's nobody more detail-oriented and disciplined than you guys, okay? And you know what? You guys are the true heroes, and you're heroes to us, and you're heroes to everybody back home. And we can't thank you enough for how you treated us and the impact you've had on our lives. So sorry and thanks.
Now you could hear in the words and in the tone from both Jamie Dixon and Mark Few how sorry they are that the game couldn't continue, but how much they still got out of the experience of being here. Now you can see players going up into the crowd and embracing with the Marines. And I mean, I don't know what the world record is for selfies at a basketball game, but it's probably been broken here today. And this is going to go on for quite some time. And the young men of the Panthers and the Zags will remember their experience here in Okinawa for a long time.
Well, look, it's a difficult ending. Nobody wanted it to end this way, but how classy of these players to go up and share time with these Marines. Just an amazing group of people on both sides.
It was a long journey for both teams and a very worthwhile journey, even though the game could not be finished. The officials deciding in conjunction with the coaches, they said, to not start the second half because of the unsafe conditions on the court. I think we saw enough from Gonzaga and Pittsburgh to think that both of them are probably going to have very exciting seasons. We're going to see the Zags again in the battle for Atlantis in a couple of weeks down in the Bahamas. Both teams will make their way home. And just disappointment for both Jamie Dixon and Mark Few. But again, the experience outweighs the second half, and the experience that these two programs have gotten, the memories that they've made, and all the pictures and the handshakes and the hugs that have gone on here in the last few days. That's what really counts.
Well, this is about more than basketball, and I think both Jamie Dixon and Mark Few said it. They're going to take these experiences and they'll be with them and us for the rest of our lives.
We will catch up with you again Tuesday night from the United Center in Chicago. It's the Champions Classic. Kentucky playing Duke and Michigan State playing Kansas for Jay Billis, Andy Katz, Kevin Connors, Jay Williams, and our crew. Thanks for being with us. We hope you enjoyed it, and we're going to send you back stateside, back to the studios now for SportsCenter.